What's up, guys? Welcome to another edition of Man Talk. Thanks so much for joining us. If you're with us for the first time, Man Talk is exactly what it sounds like.
It's two relatively male people talking.
Relatively male?
Yeah.
We'll cover that one later.
Yeah.
That'll be a question to wrap it up.
That's right.
Oh, man. Well, we're glad to have you guys. Again, Man Talk, we're diving into real, relevant, gritty topics that a lot of times get set to the side.
Yeah.
Busyness, pace of life, things that come in the way. But we want to dive in. Today, we're covering feedback, continuing on in 30 Virtues That Build a Man. If you guys haven't picked up this book yet, you got to go get one. beresolute.org/30, THIRTY, if I can spell today. You got to get a copy of 30 Virtues That Build a Man.
I have a bunch of them.
You
I have a bunch of copies.
Do you?
Yeah, if someone wants to buy some, they can.
So I got some feedback for you. On
Okay,
that,
great.
And that's what we're covering.
Yeah.
So clearly, everyone knows the best place to give feedback is social media, right? That's the number one venue. People are always really receptive, really controlled environment with a lot of it's terrible.
Yeah.
Vince, do you have any good social media feedback stories within the last month or so here?
Oh yeah, I totally do. I think everybody should go give someone feedback on social media.
And we just sabotaged some relationships.
Yeah, that's right. Go give your boss feedback publicly. He'll love it.
Yeah.
She'll love it. So anyway, I post all the time. So I do a few blog posts each week. Last week, I posted something on getting comfortable with sharing your faith. And oh my goodness, I never thought that blog would get a whole lot of feedback. I mean, I got people telling me...
It's more controversial than politics?
I know! It was way more controversial than politics, I thought. I mean, I posted stuff on politics, on sex and intimacy and marriage. I get nothing. I come up goose egg with replies, and then I start talking about getting comfortable with sharing your faith, and everybody's got a comment for me. From shut up, go share your opinion in church, to you're always lying to me, you're hypocritical. I mean, I got it all. It was just crazy. I was like, okay, great.
Clearly, the church is the place for everybody's opinions.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. We should all share our opinions at church and share our faith there, because we should only share it with like-minded people. I was just like, okay, whatever. But, it's just interesting. We like feedback, but you know what? I love positive feedback. That's the only kind I like.
Never any critical feedback.
No. Don't give me any
like
critical.
that.
No,
So
I don't even listen to it.
Let me take a quick note of that just to make sure no critical feedback from Vince. So we'll go to the positive feedback.
Yeah.
That's actually a good question. When's a time in your life that you've received positive feedback that actually inspired and motivated you to continue to grow in a certain area?
Yeah, of course my wife has given me tons of positive feedback.
She knows the rule.
Yeah,
no negative feedback.
Yeah, she knows.
Right?
She understands. No, she doesn't. She does give me critical feedback. Sometimes in good ways, sometimes in unhealthy ways. Sometimes I do the same thing back to her, right? But every once in a while, she'll just have a really positive comment for me, positive feedback, something like, man, you're a great father. And you have no idea how that fills a man's banks. I mean, there's men out there right now that are kind of probably going, man, I wish my wife would say that to me. Or, men, you probably need to hear this too. Your wife needs to hear the same thing, right? Yes. Man, you're beautiful today. Man, the way that you did this is incredible. You're an amazing manager, an amazing leader, an amazing mother. I think we take for granted that those positive comments really fill our banks. They're little drops in our bucket of life. They're gained in only drops, not floods, but they flood our life to overflowing sometimes. So I can hang on to a comment like that for weeks.
Oh, man.
And it's so good, right? You probably had moments like that too,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I was actually just thinking about that in a conversation with my wife last night. We were just, wrestling through some stuff. She was asking such good questions, like all good wives do, picking you apart like piece by piece. Yeah. And at the end of it, I just said, man, you're really smart. You're really insightful. You ask great questions, and you know me way too well.
Yeah.
And she's like, thank you. That's really encouraging. So feedback, especially positive feedback, just builds up that bank over time. And I think it's such a huge thing in relationships, but also in how we just progress and grow and learn and continue to move into new areas.
Exactly.
So based on that, what are some of the biggest barriers that men experience to receiving feedback in their lives?
Well, what I notice from guys in their life regarding feedback is, if you just go back to our younger days, when we were younger, the homes that we grew up in, the environments that we were exposed to, there are many of us never received good, healthy feedback, positive or negative. And therefore, we don't learn ways to receive it appropriately or what to do with it. And I really think for feedback to be received by us appropriately, we have to be willing to receive it. We have to almost go and get it, right?
Yeah.
So it isn't so much about what people say, like, these comments on Facebook regarding my blog post. I really don't care.
Yeah.
It has more to do with, am I willing to really listen to what they're actually saying, regardless of the way that they're saying it or the platform they're saying it on? Am I willing to hear the shred of truth that may be there that I need to hear?
Right.
And, sometimes it's listening a little deeper. And I think that's one of the big challenges that we have is, number one, we've got to be willing to go get and receive feedback. And number two, the biggest issue that I think we face is that when we're receiving feedback, whether we know it's coming or not, we have to stop emotionally ramping up when that moment happens.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, yeah.
right? That there's times that someone's giving you feedback that inside you're starting to just like blow your top, like Popeye, and the face starts to get red and the body starts to change and you start to sweat. And, if you blush, you start to blush. And if you start to grit your teeth or muscles starting to tighten, that's what you do. And we've got to keep ourselves from emotionally ramping up in those moments because that's what creates a wall.
That fight or flight response.
Oh, dude, it's just like, I got to tell you, like, it happens to me all the time. Like when I feel like someone's attacking me, when they're giving me feedback, oh boy, I will emotionally ramp up and I want to hear a single thing that they're saying. It doesn't matter what they're saying. Yeah. It's that they're saying it. And I feel attacked and I'm ready to bite back on that, right? So those are a couple of things I'm thinking about.
It's funny. It actually makes me think back to high school in the football film room, and you're going through these processes of feedback. You're watching it play by play, frame by frame, all those different things, and it's one giant feedback session.
Yeah.
And so much of it is very critical. Like you're looking, here's the block we missed, here's the tackle we missed, here's the assignment we missed, things like that.
You were an offensive lineman, weren't you?
Exactly, man. Yeah, just bulky, hardy, stout. That's how I've been described my entire life. But the difference between that, the forced feedback, versus going to the coach and saying, "Coach, how can I get better at this? How can I grow in this? How can I do this? How can I run this route better?" Yeah, not that I was a receiver or anything, but yeah, that when you choose to step into a place of feedback, there's just a different culture, a different environment to it. I think that's really powerful.
Yeah. It shows that you're willing, and that you're emotionally ramped down, and you're ready to receive it. You know what I mean? Like you're just, hey, I'm ready. Give it to me. Yeah. And so I think that that's one of the cues that guys really got to pay attention to. Feedback is going to be given to us whether we like it or not. I've sat in sessions with other people, and I don't know if this is the direction you're heading, but I've sat in sessions with other people where, to be quite honest, I didn't agree with everything that they were saying, but I had to still be willing to receive it, right?
No, I think that's really good. The phrase I always think of when it comes to criticism or feedback is the take the meat, chuck the bone type thing, which I think is just a, kind of a, catchphrase, cliche, just kind of a blanket statement. What does that look like when you actually, because we all go through processes of how we absorb feedback, how we filter the different things. And there's a discipline to that. I think there's a discipline to the way you take in that feedback, the way you control your emotions around it and stuff like that. What process do you walk through that your take the meat, chuck the bone process to absorbing feedback?
Yeah. So that's a great question. I think that as soon as I realize that someone's giving me feedback, as soon as I do, I start to emotionally try to figure out how I'm going to ramp down. And the way that I ramp down is I keep my mouth shut. Seriously, that's what I do. I choose to say to myself, I don't have to respond to them right now. I can say to them, I'll respond to you later, or let's come back to this at another time. Yeah. So that's my first tactic, is I emotionally start to ramp down, and I'm aware of what's happening inside of me, physiologically, emotionally, mentally, right? I start to ramp down, and as I ramp down, I say to myself, I don't have to respond right now. The next thing that I do is I try to figure out why they're saying the things that they're saying. Now, some people, when they're giving you feedback, all they want you to do is listen. They don't expect you to do anything. Seriously. Yeah. All they want you to do is hear their opinion. And so sometimes I'll just kind of nod, And then the way that I'll kind of show that I'm listening is I'll say back to them, here's what I heard you say. Am I right about this? So I dialogue with them about their opinions, their feelings, et cetera, et cetera. So you see what I've done? I've emotionally ramped down.
Right.
I've chosen to say to myself, I don't have to respond right now, but I'm clarifying what they're saying back to me
Right.
so they can hear that I'm listening to them.
Yeah.
And then once I get done with kind of that exercise, then I have to decide if their feedback is valid or not. And this isn't something that I verbalize to them. Your feedback is valid on a scale of 1 to 10, 8, or 2. You know,
I'm not feedback. On
yeah,
your
yeah. Let me
feedback.
give you feedback on your feedback, which is what people do. They start to cycle.
It's vicious.
It's a
isn't it?
vicious cycle. Or
You just start justifying and posing and
justifying, posing, or blaming or explaining. That I mean, those are the things that we tend to do back. And as soon as you start to explain or to blame or pose or justify, you're demonstrating that you're not listening.
Yeah.
I've seen people do that to me. Like, I'm giving you feedback and you're explaining. Nah, you're not listening to me. I give you feedback and you're justifying. Well, you're not listening to me again. Like, I just want to be listened to, and the person on the other side of the table wants me to listen to them. And so the next filter that I use is I have to decide whether or not it's true. On a scale of 1 to 10, maybe I would say sometimes, it's an 8, sometimes it's a 1. And so if it's not true, then, I have to then weigh it with Scripture. And I have to weigh it with other people's perspectives. And so that's what I'm always doing, is I'm always trying to decide, well, is this just something from your perspective? Is it something from a biblical perspective? Is it something that's going to heal our relationship? Is it something that other people witness? Is it true in our environment with our mission and vision? Yeah. Is it feedback that's valid in the context, in the greater context? And so I have to judge that, unfortunately. And I have to decide what is meat and what is bone. Yeah. And that's the hard part of this whole process is deciding what is good feedback and what is not. And typically, what's not great feedback is the way they're delivering it, not so much what they're saying, because most of the time what they're saying probably has some validity, but it's how they're saying
I think that's a good point, because, I mean, most of what we're talking about here is how to be a man that's receptive to feedback. How to drop our pride, how to drop our selfishness, how to drop those things that kind of inhibit us or prohibit us, whatever, from receiving good feedback. But I think you make a good point, is being able to take that other lens. How do you give good feedback?
Yeah, that's great. So I think one of the ways that you can give good feedback is to, I think, first off, approach it prayerfully. Because I think not only do I ramp up when I'm receiving it, I ramp up when I'm giving it. Right. So I have to kind of make sure that my heart is in the right place. I got to make sure that I'm very specific about their situation and how they see things, and even ask them if they see things the way that I'm seeing them, or if I'm misinterpreting the situation. Yeah. I think approaching it from a posture of, look, I need to give this to you, but are you seeing the same thing on the other side? Is helpful, because you're not just assuming your context is only right. Giving feedback to people is important for their benefit and how they get better. I mean, you and I give feedback to each other quite often, and Justin, who's on the other side of this camera right now, is always giving us feedback on how we handle things. And to be quite honest, it's really helpful. Yeah. Like, sometimes Justin will say, Vince, you're talking too much. Which I'm not, but sometimes he's not saying that right now. But sometimes he'll say, "Hey, you talked too much in that episode," and I'll say, "Okay, well, I can receive that. Where did you see that? How was I repeating things? Was my posture awkward? Was I coming on too strong? Was I being too loud?" I love that, because I know that it's making me better, and we should invite that, because in the end, the goal is to make each other better. And I think when you're giving feedback, you got to approach it from that perspective. Not only how you do it, what you say, the posture with which you say it, but the purpose of giving feedback is to make someone better. Yeah. So let's make each other better. Yeah. Don't retain it. Don't hold it in. Don't not give it to somebody. Give it to them for their benefit.
Give it to them.
Give it to them. And hard, publicly, on Facebook and social media and Instagram.
That's the best place. That's the best place for it.
Today, right now, go do it. And make sure you tag Tyler VanEps in it.
Hashtag Tyler VanEps told me to do it. So, I blame Vince.
Yeah, that's right.
I blame Vince.
Anyway, does this make sense, though?
Yeah,
I mean,
no, absolutely. I think that's so good. And I think it's a really helpful tool. I know there's people in my life, there's places in my life that I need to bring feedback to right now.
Yeah.
So thinking about that filter, I'm sure a lot of our guys out there are in that same exact place. I got to bring feedback to my wife. I got to bring feedback to my work, to my kids, whatever that is. But I think the big challenge that we really want is, what we really talk about is a man of God is receptive.
Right.
I think first and foremost, receptive to feedback from God, feedback from what the Holy Spirit's telling us, obedience, but feedback from the people around us too, the community that we're a part of. And so I think that's the big challenge for our guys out there today. Yeah. And I think you said it best. Like, we want you to try this now. Go ask someone for feedback. Yeah. Go ask a kid, man. Your kids will give you great feedback. I know my oldest daughter, only 5 years old, the feedback that she gives, it just a laser, like right into my soul. Yeah. Dad, you're not spending enough time with me. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Okay. More playtime.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But I think it's really good. And I think it's a great challenge for all our guys out there. So
exactly.
Awesome. Anything else, Vince?
No, I think that go give feedback to people today.
Go give all the feedback you can wherever you can, especially on social media.
And I agree with you. I think that's a great closer, to be quite honest. I think it would be interesting for every guy out there to go ask one person for feedback and not respond. Mm-hmm. Like, just listen to them.
Yeah.
And say, hey, I want feedback on how I'm performing as a husband, as a father, and as a leader. You got 3 environments right there. You're home with your wife, home with your kids, or at work with your friends and employees and peers. Yeah. Go ask them, and I promise you they're going to have something that you're going to learn today that might sting a little bit, but might make you better.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. Another edition of Man Talk. Really glad that you took some time to be with us. We'll see you next time.